I forgot how to start this.
We should just start it like that.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Gaming Without Parole. My name is Brian Paul, and sitting across from me is the sometimes illustrious Mike Zeller.
Sometimes, yeah.
We take what we can get these
Yeah,
days.
some days. Not feeling the illustriousness so much today.
All right, well, we're just going to ignore that and pretend like everything's A-OK.
Yeah, hey, I'm fine. Really?
Mike, for all the people at home who've never seen the show before, and there are a lot of you.
Yeah, there might even be more that haven't than have at this point.
You think so?
I think so.
Huh. Well, for all of you, Mike, what do we do here on Gaming Without Parole?
I don't know. We just fuck around.
Yeah.
We waste between an hour and a half every week of our lives.
Maybe not an hour today.
You can watch us slowly dying.
Yep. We're a little bit off schedule because of Father's Day.
Yeah.
Last week we were off schedule because of E3. This might be the last one, you say.
Yeah, we're done. This is it.
Yep.
Grand finale.
All right.
As long as we're going out on a whimper.
Mike, I know we don't have a ton of time today, but is there anything that you've been playing that you want to talk about?
Well, I know you're always really enthusiastic when I bring up Final Fantasy Record Keeper, but they just had a major update, which is kind of exciting. They really changed. Yeah, I know. Sorry, they did. They substantially expanded all of the content. They bumped up the level cap. They've created a kind of like team up mechanic, so you can cooperate with friends. It's probably the most massive expansion since they launched the game, so that's kind of exciting.
Still free.
Still absolutely free. I have
mind-boggling.
I have probably put. I mean, it easily must be over 40 hours into this game, and I have not spent a cent.
Wow. Where's Joby when you need him?
I know.
Right? Joby, where are you?
You bastard.
Joby?
Where'd he go?
Joby!
He's dead.
Dead indeed.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's cool.
Yeah. That's been pretty much it, because it's had other stuff going on.
Other stuff. I hate to say it too, but I've literally played almost nothing this week. It's been a very, very busy week. And we just recorded one of these a few days ago. So
not much to catch up on.
Yeah, not much at all. Although when you came in today, I was playing my Retron 5, doing a little Yoshi's Island in preparation for Yoshi's Woolly World coming out soon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Not the best reviews.
Really?
Yeah. I think I actually, I may have taken a screenshot of the... Yes, it's got a Metacritic score right now of 69.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's bad.
GameSpot said that, this is a quote from GameSpot, Finding hidden items is technically an optional side quest, but paradoxically, it's also the game's only real challenge. Which is disappointing.
Yeah.
Do you think that Nintendo is... I've got two questions. Do you think that Nintendo is aiming too many of their games toward a younger audience, making things way too easy?
I mean, I think that is part of it. It's not even the easiness of it, though, because I don't mind games that aren't... Like, Super Mario World is not a super hard game. Like, I would say it's not... Might even be easier than some of the Mario stuff that's come out recently. But...
Wow, yeah.
But it's still a diverse and interesting and engaging game. We've talked about it a lot, that at least a lot of the people currently at Nintendo seem to have just lost the dynamism that was present in some of their older games. Just some of the uniqueness. And it's I mean, I know a lot of people... This sounds vaguely like one of those, like, back in my day, old person kind of complaints. But I feel like there are demonstrable ways to make this clear. We talked about that level in New Super Mario Bros. Wii, that they did it like a Picasso painting.
Right.
Amazing! That's such a great idea.
Great idea.
But there wasn't anything to it. It was just a level where you jump between a bunch of pipes to avoid poison gas, and there was, like, kind of weird stuff in the background.
Right, like the Starry Night background.
Exactly. Yeah, that was it. Compare that to, say, something like Super Mario Bros. 3, where you find, like, Karibo's shoe, that weird green shoe, in one level, and it's totally different from, like, anything else in the rest of the game. And it's just in that one level.
Right.
Or like Super Mario World, they had like the ghost ship underwater. Again, one level where it's like underwater. Haunt all the dead fish and stuff just in that one level.
Yeah.
Those weird chainsaw enemies, I think, were in one, maybe two levels. And and you compare it to, say, Mario Galaxy, where there actually is some of that dynamism left, and you just see how much some of their 2D stuff is just really lacking. And it doesn't have anything to do with difficulty. It's just the engagement, the interesting aspects of the game.
This is a bit of a sidetrack, but I think there were quite a few quotes that came out of Nintendo this past week. And so maybe we should just sidetrack right now and talk about all of them.
Why not?
Shigeru Miyamoto. Sorry, bud.
Yeah.
Shigeru Miyamoto.
I'll just call him
Shiggy.
Shiggy-M.
Yeah. He said that that when tablets came out, they stole Wii U's thunder. As if, if tablets had come out a couple years later, or if they had gained popularity later, the Wii U would have been a more impressive launch. It would have surprised people more and been like, this is a cool, unique item.
Yeah, but tablets had been out for a while by the time the Wii U hit. When did the Wii U came out? In 2013, 2012?
Yeah.
2012,
I
right?
want to say 12.
12. We'd had tablets since at least the early 2000s.
Yeah, and they've gotten more popular with every passing year.
Oh yeah,
but to blame tablets on the failure of the Wii U, which is not exactly what he's doing.
They're blaming Apple. Did Shigeru Miyamoto kill Steve Jobs?
Oh, maybe.
Is that what happened?
Maybe that's what happened. It's just a weird thing to say. I think at this point, it just sounds like a lot of blaming someone else.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, hey, maybe we should have launched with a Metroid title. Something because I know Metroid's not the most popular Nintendo franchise, but something to really pull in your target core hardcore gamer.
Yeah.
That sounds like something they should have been saying instead of being like, oh, it's tablet's fault.
Yeah. Anytime you're going to trot out that the sales are bad because of outside factors, that's,
So that was Miyamoto.
Which is a shame. He's usually a little more on the ball than that.
Now, Nintendo of America, their president, Reggie
Fils-Aime.
Yeah. His quote, this is getting just ridiculous. Let me see if I have the actual quote instead of paraphrasing.
It's going to bum me out because I kind of like Reggie, so...
Do you really?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, then you're going to love this. Apparently they had his quote, wonderful footage of Zelda for Wii U. But they didn't want to disappoint gamers further because they had just announced that it was going to be delayed. So they didn't want to show something that was amazing because it wasn't coming out soon enough.
Well...
This sounds like more bullshit.
Yeah, that doesn't make me think less of him from, Yeah, it just sounds kind of dumb.
Right. Why say it? They said they warned us at a time that Zelda would not be at E3, and it wasn't. Leave it alone. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys are acting weird.
Yeah.
Reggie said something else this week. So obviously at E3 there was a huge focus between the Microsoft HoloLens, Oculus Rift, and then Sony's Project Morpheus. A huge focus on virtual reality. Nintendo, of course, being the only company right now without any sort of VR plans. Reggie says that virtual reality isn't fun. I mean, come on, man.
Well, we tried with the Virtual Boy. I don't know what else you guys want.
Right? What a weird thing to say.
That is a weird thing to say. Although, I will give Nintendo a little bit of a pass on that one. It's an odd thing to say, but Nintendo has always been very, very good about not chasing the trendy tech bandwagon.
Right, like high-definition graphics.
Yeah. Well, say what you will about the Wii and its graphical capabilities.
Yeah.
It fucking sold like gangbusters. Or like the Game Boy, the original Game Boy, drastically outsold all the other handles.
Links,
despite the fact that it was so underpowered.
Absolutely.
So Nintendo might not always make what what we on the kind of cutting edge of gaming technology would want.
Yeah.
But they usually make the smart decision, technologically speaking, and it's usually only when they go for the big money that they misstep things.
Yeah. So let me read his full quote.
Okay.
All right. He said, "What we believe is that in order for this technology to move forward, you need to make it fun and you need to make it social. I haven't walked the floor, E3, so I can't say in terms of what's on the floor today, but at least based on what I've seen to date, it's not fun and it's not social. It's just tech." So now he expands it a little bit more and says that things have to be social in order to in order for it to be fun.
Yeah.
Says the company who was the latest on the internet bandwagon.
Yeah, but I mean, they've always been more about couch co-op, anyways. Yeah, it's. I'm as a gamer who does most of his gaming solo, I will agree that social does not always improve everything.
Nope.
But that is kind of seeming to be the way that Nintendo is going. They're trying to be the inclusive, get the kids, get grandma and grandpa, get everybody involved in the same thing.
Yeah.
Which they have done well by financially, so I hesitate to slight them on that point. But it does seem like a bit of hand-waving for a technology that would have a lot more capabilities,
Yeah, I mean, it's the first time since VR was launched. I mean, I remember the VR kiosks and stuff at the mall, like super primitive stuff when I was young, like when I was like maybe 10 years old. So we're talking 25 years ago. This is the first time it's become accessible and cheap enough to manufacture and be versatile enough to not just be like 5 cool polygons like in a VR world. Nintendo used to be really, or maybe still is, a great innovator. You'd think instead of being like, oh, we don't have it, so it's not fun, they would say, let's look into this and see how we can make it fun.
Yeah.
Especially if they don't think it's fun. It sounds like a strange thing to say.
Yeah.
Like everything else this week.
Yeah, it's an odd quote, but I wouldn't count them out yet. I suspect that whatever their next piece of hardware is going to be, it's going to be something a little more dynamic.
I would love if the NX was a virtual reality machine. Like, we were just throwing you off the track.
That I would shake their hands over that one if that was the issue.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Because to be fair, they would be the first ones doing it from launch. Sony has an uphill battle trying to get the millions of PlayStation 4 owners to go and also buy the Morpheus, which that never works. Peripherals are always bullshit unless they're included from day one.
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean, maybe that's what it is. I like I said, Nintendo is usually smart about hardware and technology.
Yeah.
They don't always make the best decisions when it comes to games or which direction people want a series to go in, but they're usually pretty smart about the hardware kind of stuff.
Very true. That's enough of Nintendo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this. Okay. Once you hear the full story, you won't be surprised that I have no knowledge on this.
Okay.
But do you know about a game called Sunset?
That sounds vaguely familiar.
Made by developer Tale of Tales, and I'm assuming this was a PC game. So, Tale of Tales, the maker of Sunset, has announced that they are quitting commercial game development. Now, this is an IGN article that I'm quoting from. Despite spending more money on PR and marketing than on the production of Sunset itself, only 4,000 copies were sold, which includes the copies for Kickstarter backers. I watched the trailer. It had a very Gone Home feel for the trailer, but I didn't see any real gameplay. It just seemed like they were kind of going through these 3D spaces. So, let's see. Michael Samyn, S-A-M-Y-N, sorry, bud, said, "We are happy and proud that we have tried to make a game for gamers. We really did our best with Sunset, our very best. and we failed. That's one thing we never need to do again.
That's depressing.
It's really depressing. I mean, 4,000 copies. I mean, that is a commercial failure on.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we've seen a failure that bad in a long time, or maybe we have and we just didn't notice it. I've never heard of this game before, and obviously that's why no one's talking about it. So, I mean, we wish you the best. I don't really have anything like to discuss about it. It's just sad because obviously these people were passionate about what they did.
Yeah. And
to just be like, well, it was a commercial failure, so we failed. That's not always true. There's been amazing games in the past that were not commercial successes, but obviously amazing games. So, unfortunately, this is the latest casualty of mass market not being maybe open to what you're trying to do.
Yeah, we've touched on it countless times that it's just not really a great time to be a mid-tier developer. No,
I'm assuming they're an indie developer, but I think it's with Steam, which I'm assuming this was a PC game. I think you need to focus on, like, right now to launch this game, maybe like an Xbox One launch or a PS4 launch would have been in order. Someplace that isn't those consoles aren't quite flooded with like the crazy amount of indie games. I mean, there's a ton of them, but compared to Steam,
you've got a better chance of standing out a little bit more.
Yeah, so maybe there were some missteps in the planning stages, but it's, like I said, it's still really sad to see it happen. Moving on. Did you ever play Zombie U for the Wii U?
I didn't. It's one of those games, though, that I've really liked the sound of it, though. It reviewed kind of mixed, but from everything that I read, it sounded like a really interesting concept. I was actually thinking that I'd borrow it from you or from work someday when I felt so inclined and try it out.
You're more than welcome to.
You get it for like pocket change nowadays. So.
Yeah. Even when I got mine, I think maybe a year and a half ago or something. I feel like I didn't pay more than like $15 for it, and that was a while ago.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. The problem is when it utilizes the Wii U screen, it's the least fun part of the game. So, Ubisoft has apparently... the Australian Classification Board. You always love these things. They're always outing games left and right.
Yeah, them in Germany are always bizarrely like heavy-handed with things.
Yeah, and like the not the UK Amazon, but it's like another I think it's France Amazon. They're always listing shit way ahead of time. So thank you for that. Zombie with no U, just ZOMBI, has appeared on the classification board in Australia. It looks like it's going to be an Xbox One game. So, I mean, yes, I want to get back to play this game. I'd rather not play it on the Wii U. No, I don't think I want to pay $60 to play it as soon as it comes out on Xbox One. But it's good to see that game is getting a new chance.
Yeah, it sounded like such a bizarrely fascinating concept. It kind of surprised me that it reviewed so poorly, even just by strength of concept. Like I felt like people should have been clamoring about it just because it was such a unique game.
And it really stood out in the Wii U launch library. It was a much different game.
Yeah. Although I guess you can't blame Nintendo for going after children if they're games that are adults kind of flop.
Yeah, that's probably very true. Apparently Persona 5 is coming this year.
Yay!
So
I am excited about
that and Fallout, fucking I quit. I quit my job, I quit the podcast. I've got no time for anything else. Yeah,
I'm thinking that we are starting to approach the time period where I may need to upgrade to a new console because there are a number of games that I want to play now. So
luckily, Persona 5 is coming to the last gen as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it started as a PS3 game, so you're probably
can only assume so, but
probably not getting a lot of extra stuff going with the PS4 version.
Luckily, this information comes from Atlas's website, so a little more credible than the Australian Classification Board.
Yeah,
maybe
those guys are always making shit up.
for certain owners of Xbox One, there are 22 games, Xbox 360 games that are currently able to be played on Xbox One.
Nice.
You have to have some kind of service or whatever, but there are 22 games so far. Some cool, some not. Viva Pinata's on the list.
Yeah! All right.
Yep. Some shit I've never heard of before.
Anything that has at least a funny name?
A Kingdom for Keflings.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know that had a physical release.
A World of Keflings.
Wow.
These are the top 2 titles on the list, but it's in alphabetical order. They may not have had a physical release. They might just be...
So you just download them?
Probably pay to download it.
Oh.
Yep. See, that's... Microsoft is getting your money one way or another. This is happening. And a bunch of the other ones, is Perfect Dark and Perfect Dark Zero, Viva Pinata, both of them, Cameo, the first Mass Effect, Geometry Wars Evolved, Banjo 1 and 2, Alien Hominid HD. So, again, this is something I want to kind of sidetrack right now.
Yeah.
Because as somebody who's never owned a 360... and it's funny because recently I was thinking, I was like, okay, what's the cheapest 360 I can buy that's not the original one? What can I do?
Probably get one for under $100, I would assume.
No, I mean like maybe used, but I'm not fucking buying anything used, especially with Microsoft's track record.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I may not have to if this all comes to fruition as Microsoft said it will. So I've been kind of going through and watching YouTube videos and reading some old articles and reviews and trying to find those 360 hidden gems.
Yeah.
The ones that I'd be interested in that aren't like Call of Duty flavored. And I found a few, but I thought maybe you could enlighten me with a few of your own after I give you my list of stuff that I've ordered or received. The original Condemned was only an Xbox 360 game, whereas the sequel came to PS3 as well. I never got to play the first one. The second one was pretty cool.
Yeah, I've heard good things about those games. Again, they're not exactly my cup of tea, but they seemed interesting.
Yep. Blue Dragon by Mistwalker. Former... The ceiling's coming down.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? There's a leak in my kitchen.
Ooh. And now there's going to be a leak in your recording studio.
There's a leak in my kitchen, and I told the building maintenance guy, and they were like, yeah, there's no one that lives above you. And I was like, so maybe they're checking out where the leak's coming from. Yay. Yeah. No more leak. No más agua for our Spanish listeners.
Yeah. That's what we should do. We should do an all Spanish episode. That'd be great.
We'd have to write it ahead of time and then translate it.
Yeah.
And then probably pronounce everything wrong.
Yeah. That's the best part.
Que ondas, amigos? All right. Blue Dragon.
Yeah, that's a cool one.
You played it.
I've played a little bit of it. Yeah. The all of those Mistwalker games get kind of lukewarm reviews.
What were other Mistwalker games?
What was it? Not Resonance of Fate. I'm gonna forget them all because Last Remnant.
Right.
And
I didn't know that was them. That's cool.
I think that was them, Last Remnant.
Yeah.
And the one that was the Immortal guy. What was that called?
The Immortal guy.
Yeah.
The guy who made Immortal.
No. This guy was an Immortal. That was his whole shtick. You played an Immortal in that game. I can't remember what that was called. Oh well. I think there were 3 of them, anyways.
Oh, good.
Yeah. But Blue Dragon was always the one that seemed the most interesting because it basically used the sort of Final Fantasy job system, and it had art by Akira Toriyama, who I've always been a big fan of. I love his sort of quirky, cartoony designs.
Alan Wake.
I say this every time, but I honestly didn't realize that was a 360 exclusive.
And I know it's not your thing, but did you play any of it?
Nope.
Trying to figure out why you had a 360, but maybe these next ones.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna rattle off the stuff that I liked, and you're gonna be like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. Well, I saw a pretty cool video where somebody was highlighting shooters.
Oh yeah.
So and then there's quite a few good ones. It looks like Akai Katana.
Yep. I have that, and that's pretty great.
Nice.
I like all the cave stuff. So
the best thing is that all these are super cheap.
Yeah.
Like you would think that these would be kind of collectible or something.
Yeah.
No, I think I got each of these for like $10, brand new. Death Smiles.
Yep.
and I'm going to say it wrong. Automedius, excellent.
Oh yeah, yep, Automedia. Yep, that's the kind of Gradius parody.
Yeah.
I played the other. I own that, but I haven't actually sunk much time into it. The other two I played a lot.
Okay.
I like Death Smiles, even though the cover art kind of creeped me out. It's
the anime chicks, right?
Yeah. That
was like my favorite part of it.
I know. You're like, little girls dressed like French maids. I'm in.
Yeah.
It sort of plays like Castlevania, the shmup.
Okay.
Yeah,
I like it more already.
Yeah. It's got a real like kind of fantasy horror vibe to it, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
I'm glad that you glossed over the fact that I said Castlevania.
Oh, I didn't even hear.
I totally, yeah.
I don't really listen.
I know.
Yeah.
It's okay.
What? So I actually got the collector's edition of Death Smiles.
I know. That's it. That's super cheap too.
Super cheap, and because it was only like I think I paid $7 more than getting
Yeah.
I think I got a brand new one too, and it has a faceplate and stuff in it, which I'll
Yeah.
probably just toss when it gets here. But I really just want to this is in direct contrast to what you just said, but I really just want to throw away the contents and flatten out the box and put it up on my wall because I thought it looked like a cool cover. So,
okay.
And that'll take up way less space than all of my other collector's editions. Which, you know what? I was actually thinking of tossing things like the Order 1886 and like Batman Arkham Origins, like all of these big boxes that literally don't hold anything.
Yeah.
I think I'll just flatten them and put them up on my walls and be like, "This is my hall of shame."
My wall of shame. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good idea, Brian. Thank you for the suggestion.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Why do I listen to myself?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's dangerous.
So now it's your turn. Anything?
Okay. So since you've been buying all the shooters, do you know that Cave actually released a bunch of 360 shooters that were import only, but because on the 360 region lock was all done at the software level, and they made all of them region free, so you can get all of their they did about another 2 or 3, actually no, more like a half dozen different games, I think, that were all region free. Nice. And all pretty solid. Like Escalada, they're all really obnoxious names.
Sure.
Involving flying anime people that could change gender to power up.
I love it.
Yeah, I knew you'd be on board with that. Oh god, and I'm gonna fuck up the pronunciation of this one. It's Mushihime or something like that.
Okay.
But it's like giant bugs. It's a shooter, but it's all with giant bugs, which is pretty neat.
It sounds like if I'm interested in this stuff, I'm actually going to have to buy a 360 because there's no way.
Yeah, and these ones are where you said the US release ones are all pretty cheap.
Yeah.
I got these ones pretty much at launch, and they were not cheap then, and they seem to have only gone up in price since.
Yeah, well, I'm not a huge shooter fan.
Yeah.
I like the quirky ones, which it sounds like some of these definitely.
Yeah. What was the other thing called? I'm going to blank on this, but yeah, there's been a bunch of different import shooters that were pretty cool.
Was it Death Smiles that got a sequel?
It did get a sequel, which there might be a Japanese physical release of that, but there's definitely a downloadable. You can get the in the US. You can download it.
Got it.
Didn't seem as good though. They went from using the sprite graphics to all CG, and
that's too bad.
Yeah, I was not as much. I haven't been as interested in that one.
Okay.
What else did they have? Well, there's always my favorite, Deadfall.
Oh, right.
You can get the collector's edition of that for like a nickel.
I'm literally writing this down because I watched a lot of gameplay of that, and I'd like to play through it.
Yeah, it's kind of shitty, but in an endearing sort of way.
I'll take it.
Yeah. I wish you'd let me know ahead of time. I totally could have brainstormed a bunch of...
Yeah, I knew that I was going to be putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Let's see, what are some other good 360 exclusives? I mean, all the Halo stuff, hit or miss. My two favorite Halo games are the ones that are never put in these collections and that nobody ever talks about, but I think they're the best ones, which is Halo 3 ODST and Halo Reach. ODST is...
Just keeping myself entertained while you talk about Halo. Okay. I'll better.
Alright, good. ODST is the only one where you don't play as a Spartan.
Still keeping myself entertained. Sorry. Okay.
Which really changes the gameplay, because the whole thing with Halo, it was the breakout title with the regenerating shields, so it encouraged you to be a lot more aggressive because you could just duck out of fire and you'd heal up. So in ODST you play as one of their special forces soldiers instead of a Spartan, so you don't move as fast, you don't hit as hard, you can't take as much of a beating, so it ends up changing the gameplay from, instead of playing as this like super powered robot ultimate human being just slaughtering your way through the Covenant, like you actually have to fight pretty smart, and you have to be a lot more careful. A lot of like the brutes, the big ape-like enemies, aren't really much of a threat when you're a Spartan. Right. But when you're one of these Helljumper guys, you really, really have to be careful around them.
What's the other one?
Halo Reach.
Oh yeah.
So you do play as a Spartan in Reach, and you're kind of the in the Halo games, they always keep referring back to Reach because it was the first point of incursion of the Covenant forces. So it was kind of like everything was new. They didn't know who these aliens were, and they always refer to the fall of Reach as like the kind of the beginning of the end for humanity.
Okay.
So it almost has this sort of almost like a Titanic kind of feel to it. Like you're going to lose at the beginning of the game. Like that's how this played out.
Right.
So it's all about kind of seeing how things play out, and it's this you play as this core group of one of a core group of Spartans that were the first to make contact with the Covenant. So it leans into Halo's more melancholy feel. And it just avoided a lot of the garbage and plot bloat that snuck in later. So those are my recommendations. You can't get those in the Master Chief Collection or anything.
I didn't write either of them down.
I know.
Yeah. All right. Any other 360 titles off the top of your head, or maybe we can always come back.
Yeah, I think next week would be better when I actually have a chance to skim through everything I've got and pick out the real gems, because there was a lot of great. All the Gears of War games, which they're not bad. They're not my favorites, but sure. They're definitely, especially if you've got somebody else to play with, they're a lot of fun.
Amazingly on topic is our next topic. Yeah, we're actually being pretty...
wow.
Yeah, all the segues they make sense this week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'll fix that.
Sony, after hearing Microsoft's speech about backward compatibility and seeing the fan reaction, has totally stated they're still not pursuing backward compatibility with PlayStation 4.
Gotta admire that when you just get shown the facts and you're just like, nope, not changing my mind.
Well, I think the hard part for Sony is that they've invested billions of dollars into Gaikai to make PlayStation Now a possibility, and I don't know. You can't just say this is a failure and put it behind you, or maybe you can. I don't know. I'm not a business owner. Yeah,
that's a tough one for that kind of a. Wow, they're really going to town up there.
Yeah, must be a big league.
Yeah. Anyway. Somebody just ripped the sink out of the wall, like behind the music documentary style.
Despite whether it's a good or bad business move, I wish Sony would reconsider.
Well, they were kind of the first to jump off the backwards compatibility bandwagon when they took it out of the PS3, which was such a massively dick move.
Yeah.
That actually was the thing that kept me from buying a PS3 for a while, because I was like, I don't want to pay for this when they're taking features out.
Yeah, me too. And especially since it was such an expensive console.
Yeah.
One of the most expensive ones ever launched. Ranked right up there with the 3DO.
Yeah. Yeah, and PS2 had a huge library too. I mean, I own a mountain of PS2 games. Probably, I would say only Super Nintendo games, or I might have this as many as I do PS2 games.
And I think one of the fun things to do when you get a new system is, especially with backward compatibility on the PS2, this would totally ring true.
Yeah.
That you could turn on and off the smoothing filter, and it's not something you would want really today so much.
Yeah.
But when PS1 games were so blocky and pixelated, and the edges were all jagged and jangy and stuff, to be able to like put on a filter to kind of smooth them out a little bit. I wish I had the EGM handy. That I think it showed Vagrant Story. It showed like before and after pictures, like with and without and they were like, it looks almost as good as a PS2 game.
And Vagrant Story was a nice looking game too. That was a
was.
very high end PS1 game.
Definitely. However, so that was one of my favorite things to do when I first got my PS2, because you'd buy a couple games with your system, but you had all these other games. Like, hey, let's check out how they look. Let's see how they play.
Yeah.
So
I thought of another exclusive, 360 exclusive, Wartech. It got kind of mixed reviews, but it's a one-on-one fighter shoot 'em up, though. Okay. So it's like top down, and you play as a robot, and the other guy plays as a robot, and you kind of circle, strafe each other, and shoot crazy bullet patterns and things at each other. Got kind of mixed reviews, but it's definitely a very unique game.
I'll have to look at that one up.
Yeah.
Check out some videos online, because that could go either way for me.
Yeah. And actually, speaking of fighters, Battle Fantasia. Which,
is that a Blaze Blue game?
No, it's Arc System Works, so it is the same people.
Got it.
But it's like their medieval fantasy take. So all the characters are kind of the the D&D staples. Knight, wizard,
Interesting.
thief.
Yeah, you don't see that from them.
No. And they did it. It's actually they used polygons, but they did everything very high end cell shaded, so it looks more like their classic 2D animated stuff, even though it is 3D.
Nice. I like that. This has no connection to video games. This is the harshest segue ever. There's no story here. I just think it's hilarious. There was a man that got arrested recently, and he has a bizarre name.
Okay. Is it Optimus Prime?
Here, why don't you try to pronounce the name? It's under the heading there.
Wow.
Yep.
Bezow Doo Zoppity Bop Bop Bop.
This is his real name. We've looked it up.
And you wonder why he turned to crime.
Right. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, other than like having this Jesus complex, he looks like a normal dude.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not even going to show the picture. I'm not going to edit that shit in.
Did you ever hear? This was a number of years ago. There was a guy who and the added twist is he was a soldier too. He was an active duty U.S. military like sergeant or something. Changed his name to Optimus Prime. Legally changed his name. So there is a man, as far as I know, with the name Optimus Prime.
Is that his first and last name, Optimus Prime?
Yes, I believe so.
Love it.
And I remember, people were asking him about it, and he was just a huge Transformers fan, and this predated the movies too.
I hope he named his first child Metroid.
Yeah. But they asked his mother, because I guess they're like, "Oh, are you offended that your son rejected the name that you gave him at birth?" And she said, "I am proud to be the mother of Optimus Prime."
That is very cool.
But the dark side to it was this was again a number of years ago, and it was back right around the start of the Iraq War when there were. Or I should say, not the start of the Iraq War, the start of the insurgency when people actually started getting killed. And I remember thinking, he's an active duty military personnel. If he gets killed, that means there is going to be a follow-up news story. Optimus Prime killed in Iraq. I don't want to see that.
No.
No. That would really make me sad.
But it wouldn't make you sad if he hadn't changed his name.
I'll be honest, it would make me a little more sad if he was Optimus Prime.
I got you.
I mean, if he had changed his name to Megatron, and they're like, Megatron killed in Iraq, we're like, finally, we got him.
It'd be awesome.
The Autobots win.
It would be awesome if an Iraqi soldier changed his name, and then we could have this whole thing going on.
Yeah.
Mike, there's only one more thing newsworthy that I want to talk about.
Thank God.
And then I got something completely different to talk about.
Okay.
Batman Arkham Origins.
Yep.
Nope, that's not right. Batman Arkham Knight.
There we go.
The new game.
Yes.
The proper Rocksteady sequel. It comes out this week.
Yep.
Amazing reviews.
It's looking pretty good.
Is this what's going to make you buy a PlayStation 4?
It's not making me, but it's definitely pushing me in that direction. See, the problem is I usually, my cutoff is I usually want there to be at least 3 games that I really want to play before I buy a new console.
Okay. Killzone.
Yep. Killzone 2.
Yeah.
The Killzone collection.
Killzone trilogy.
And
Murdered Soul Suspect.
Yeah. And Uncharted 4.
We talked about it last week.
Yeah.
I actually want to play that. I'm excited for it.
But the games that have come out so far are all ones that I know will get really cheap. They're not rare RPGs. Yeah. They're not like Nintendo games where the price never really fluctuates much. Yeah. I mean, right now, Bloodborne, Final Fantasy Type 0, and Batman.
And all of those will
definitely be
next
dirt.
month.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
actually, yeah, I think Type 0 and Bloodborne are both $40 already.
Yeah. So we're heading in the right direction.
Definitely. That's good. Yeah, there's no rush. I mean, especially when you get such a backlog.
Yeah.
Of shit to play. By the way, if you guys ever see me, if you ever see the video for Crystalis, the backlogged video for Crystalis, you will know that I'm the happiest person on the face of the planet because I have spent countless hours trying to make this video. My computer crashed when it was basically done and I had to restart everything. If it ever comes to fruition, if it ever happens, just know that a lot of fucking work went into it. It's not going to be terribly good because I lost a lot of important work.
Yeah, I know, because you were kind of running out of steam with that game, period. So
just playing the game itself took forever, and I was not enjoying it. Never mind all the work I put into.
Last couple boss fights were pretty okay.
So anyway, and the real problem with this is that I don't feel like I can start another episode of Backlogged until this one's done.
Yeah.
So this might be the end of Backlogged.
One computer crash took out the whole show.
Kind of. It's kind of how I feel. What's the point of this?
Yeah, I don't know. We were talking about Batman for a while.
Yeah, we were.
Out.
Anyway, so I guess there's no real rush to run out and get a PS4,
no.
Especially now. I think the 1 terabyte versions are coming out.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that those are going to, instead of there being a price drop, I'm just assuming those are going to be the default SKU, which is good. You know, you need to give the people those kind of incentives. I kind of wish I had a terabyte one. But Batman Arkham Knight, if you download it, now this is the problem with the digital future. For anyone who's not getting a new PlayStation 4 and got one at launch or in the last 2 years, has a 500 gig hard drive. Batman will take up 10% of that hard drive.
Wow.
The download
it's a 50 gig game.
It's a 45 gig game.
Wow.
And the day one patch is 3.5 gig. Day one patch. This is convincing me that a digital future, we're not there yet.
Yeah.
Like systems need to launch with like a 10 terabyte hard drive for this to be even remotely possible. Yeah. I don't want to keep downloading the games every time I want to play them.
Yeah, well, that's what my brother was talking about with his Xbox One, that like you can have 2 or 3 games installed at a time, and then you got to start erasing stuff because they just fill up the hard drive.
They're huge. All right. That's all the news for the week.
Okay, good.
All right, so I've been kind of on a Sega Genesis kick, right?
Okay.
Trying to pick up random stuff, collectible stuff, some non-collectible stuff, things that I played when I was a kid, because I was a Genesis
Yep.
kid. And because this is going two ways here. I'm going to ask you to basically throw two different lists at me at the same time.
Okay.
The first question I have, I'm not much of a catcher, so thought you'd like that.
Nice.
The first thing is that with my newly acquired Retron 5, you can play Mega Drive games.
Yay.
And for anyone that's not in the know, and why the fuck aren't you, everywhere outside of the United States, the Genesis was known as the Mega Drive.
Just kind of a cooler name.
Yeah, I would say so.
The Super Nintendo and the Mega Drive.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I am only really familiar with Genesis games that came out in the United States. For some reason, I feel like the Nintendo and Super Nintendo, we're really kind of more familiar with the import catalog on those things. But the Genesis, for whatever reason, it's kind of like a big gaping hole in my gaming history. Is there anything that really stands out to you that is essential for collectors, or something that you always wondered why it never got brought to the U.S.?
Yeah, I mean, with the Genesis, it is a little different because there really isn't much of an import catalog, because it did much better in the U.S. and in Europe than it did in Japan.
That's true. I didn't think
most
about
of the
that.
better stuff made it over here, and it was also one of the earlier consoles that Western developers started to really get into. But that being said, there are a couple of Genesis imports that are fucking awesome. Yeah.
I'm ready.
So, although they've all since been localized with downloadable services and stuff, so I mean it's all stuff that we can get to. Pulseman has a pretty good reputation, and I believe that was a HAL game pre its being brought into the Nintendo fold.
I'm going to say something stupid.
Okay.
Sure it wasn't a treasure game?
Yes.
You
I'm
sure?
sure Pulseman was not a treasure game.
All right. I feel like I watched a video of this recently. I want to look it up while you're telling me about it.
Yeah. It's kind of got a Sonic type thing going on with this play off of speed, but you're also supposed to be ricocheting a lot, so it has a little bit of that Rocket Knight feel to it too. I believe. No, I'm sorry, not HAL. Game Freak. Game Freak pre-Pokemon.
Yes,
that's what it was.
That's what it was.
I got it in the end.
I bet you did.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Yeah. But that has a pretty good reputation, and that was briefly localized for the old Sega Channel back in the day. But
I can buy it off Etsy right now.
Ooh.
Genesis conversion reproduction.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I don't want that.
No.
I think I'm done I had a fun time with the reproductions, and now I'm kind of done.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it while it lasted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other one that immediately jumps to mind is Alien Soldier, which that is a treasure game, and it's kind of a sequel in a way from a gameplay perspective to was it Gunstar Heroes?
Really?
In that it uses a lot of the same weapons and the kind of weapon swapping mechanics. And it also kind of drifts further in the direction that Gunstar was heading, in that it's basically a boss rush mode.
Excellent.
There's not a whole lot of, just regular guys to clear out. It's mostly just bosses.
All right. I just looked up a few screenshots. This looks very familiar.
It was for a while one of the more expensive imports, period, never mind on the Genesis, so that one might be a little tricky to track down. And it's also considered one of Treasure's more difficult games, and that's pretty stiff competition. But it's the only game where you play as a giant bionic bird that just blasts the hell out of monsters that kind of look like penises. So
okay.
I had another one in the chamber. What was I thinking of? Was the next? Going off of games that kind of made it over here on the Sega Channel, Mega Man: The Wily Wars. is a
right.
collection of all of the Mega Man NES games mashed together. Not NES, the first 3 NES games mashed together into sort of one game, then with some weird bonus levels that
Okay.
vaguely make mention of that weird Journey West story, one of the world's oldest novels.
Interesting.
Yeah. So,
do you think that didn't come over here because of some like Nintendo license deal or something?
yeah, it probably had something to do with that. Nintendo was pretty ruthless back in the NES days. So,
Yeah. I did watch a short documentary about their legal battles with Tengen.
oh yeah,
How
which
that
is
all came
pretty
to pass.
nasty. Yeah. Yeah, it might have had something to do with that. I mean, maybe Sega was just really trying to push the Sega Channel and wanted something that was more of a standout. You know, Mega Man was a lot more of a household name back in those days. So, you never know.
Never know.
Yeah, and it was towards the end of the 16-bit era anyways.
So I did say that there was kind of a second part to this question.
Yes.
Now, you know me.
I do.
Not a fan of people
Nope.
in general, but definitely not a
I
fan
feel
of...
very privileged to be here.
Yeah, well, your time's limited.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not a fan of multiplayer games. Usually requires another person or a really dexterous right hand.
Or like Monkey Feet. Yeah, Monkey Feet.
Yeah, monkey feet. So there are games that I would like to do some Let's Plays of.
Okay.
That I can't really do without you. Or somebody else.
Yeah.
But,
Joby.
Well, Joby, I'm getting Joby started on his own series of Let's Plays, where he's going to play stuff that he remembers as being really good.
These are going to be hilarious.
Yeah.
I can already tell.
He claims he can get through the first...
You can't let him write anything down ahead of time.
No.
No, it all has to be off the dome.
Yeah. We're going to get him real high at the time, too. So he claims he can get through like the first hour of Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness on PS2 without dying, which I can't even get through. So we're going to see if that happens or not. So look forward to that in the future. But there are Genesis games that, or actually a couple other games too, non-Genesis. But I want to play some Time Killers.
Okay.
One-on-one. If anybody doesn't remember Time Killers, it came out around the time of Mortal Kombat. Especially in the arcades, it gained a little bit of traction. It was noteworthy for being probably the most gruesome game made at that point. People had chainsaws and you could cut off limbs. Yeah,
and keep fighting. Like, it wasn't like a fatality. Like, people could lose body parts and keep going. Yeah. And it was all sprite-based, too, which is kind of interesting.
Right. Which is funny because it reminds me of the Black Knight in Monty Python.
Yes,
the Holy
exactly.
Grail.
Every fight plays out that way.
And you happen to be wearing a Ministry of Silly Walks shirt today.
I am.
So look at that, back on topic.
Yeah.
No, not really. We just made a connection. Now, so Time Killers I definitely want to play. I also want to play Sunset Riders. I know you can do that one player, but I always knew it as a two-player game.
Yeah, and that's a good game, at least.
Yep. I don't know if you know this one, but I remember renting this as a kid, and I didn't do a lot of game renting, but this one I had a lot of fun with my friends during sleepovers and stuff. Dashing Desperados.
No, I've never even heard of that one.
It's a split-screen game.
Okay.
2D kind of platformer, where you basically run from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen, and you try to beat the other person.
Okay.
And it's
to death with their severed arms from Time Killers.
There you go. It is ridiculous. I remember being really fun for what it was. It wasn't much of anything, but it was a lot more fun with another person instead of constantly racing the computer.
Yeah.
And then something that I've gotten into recently on the Saturn, but I'd like to play through it on the soon-to-be delivered Dreamcast version. Twinkle Star Sprites.
Okay.
Have you played Twinkle Star Sprites?
No, but it's almost like a puzzle shoot 'em up.
It reminds me of a two-player competitive Tetris shoot 'em up. Because every time you take out a big swarm of enemies, you kind of throw shit at the other player. So not terribly puzzle, but very competitive.
Well, yeah, I'm in puzzle in the sense, like the block dropping, like a Tetris, like a Dr. Mario kind of deal.
Gotcha. And I had a blast playing it on Saturn recently, and to the point where I was like, I need the Dreamcast version.
It's kind of pricey, isn't it?
It was a little pricey. Yeah. I'm not terribly smart with my money.
That's our subtitle. Gaming without parole. I'm not terribly smart with my money.
Right. That's what it should say underneath my name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You hand out business cards with that written on it.
Yep. So my question for you is, what other games should we be playing in this little cavalcade of
co-op
plays?
Yeah, what are some great I mean, if you go in Genesis,
anywhere,
Toe Jam and Earl.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Toe Jam.
Yeah, Gunstar going back. That's a fun one to do co-op. You can do some more stuff that way. Well, talking 360 exclusives, I'm not a huge Gears of War fan, but playing it co-op is pretty fun. Playing it solo is essentially unbearable.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
I did not enjoy the brief moments that I tried to play that game by myself. Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of
so many.
There's so many great games with good Obscure.
There we go.
That's it. That's it. I've kind of wanted to play that game, but I really don't want to play it by myself.
Yeah. Now, I have spent a few... I think Joby and I spent maybe like an hour trying to play it together. Yeah. And we killed off a lot of our characters. And
there aren't that many to start with. There's only like 6, right?
Yeah, we lost most of them. And it's because there's a pretty high learning curve in that game, where you have to like really know how to do stuff before it happens. So it's almost like you want to play through as much of the game as you can, and then be like, okay, let's reset.
Now you do. It's almost like that's what people say about that guy Akitoshi Kawazu, who does the Saga games.
Oh,
they're like you play through. You do one file where you play through till you just can't go any further, and you're like, okay, I've fucked this up, but I know how to play, so I can start the game again.
Yeah. And I've also never played through Secret of Mana.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe that would be one.
Yeah. I mean, you can do that single player. I've definitely done it before. Sure. But if you've got 2 people that know what they're doing, it's pretty fun co-op.
I bet. I don't know what I'm doing, so I need an excuse to get through that one.
Yeah.
All right. Mike, I knew this was going to be a short podcast today, so we definitely have to sort of wrap it up.
Yep.
Are you going to be sticking with Record Keeper
this
week?
That's a tough game to marathon, because that's where the financial transactions come in.
Short bursts is the only free way to do it?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, which is fine, because I feel like it would also just get kind of tedious, really shotgunning it. But I kind of think I'm going to go download the original Earthbound for my Wii U, the NES version. Yeah.
Okay. What was the what price is on that? Is that a $6?
It's like $6 or $7. Yeah.
All right, that's fair.
That's not bad for
really
for an unreleased game. And I have some gift cards, so I'm going to go buy Wii point cards, and
there you go.
It'll be good. Yeah, I kind of think that's where I'm leaning. I'm in that kind of mode. I need the Earthbound
feel
vibe.
Good adventure mode.
Yeah, and they still haven't come out with that indie group hasn't come out with Mother 4 yet. So.
Yep. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. Well, we'll be looking forward to that.
It was supposed to be this month, so I was getting really excited for
a
while, but they keep getting delayed.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they have other jobs.
Yeah, and for a very high-end indie game that's
really
being made by about 6 people, essentially under the radar, yeah.
And that's coming out only on PC.
Yep.
Yeah, I knew it. Awesome. Yeah, I'm super excited to play some Pocky, Rocky, and Becky.
Okay.
On my Game Boy Advance, aka Retron 5.
You'll have to let me know how that is. I heard kind of mixed things about the Game Boy Advance.
I feel like I have mixed feelings about the whole series.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think it's as good as people think it is. Or as good as people think they are.
Well, there's another co-op one. Maybe if you're playing a co-op, it's...
Maybe.
That makes a difference.
Maybe not the Game Boy Advance one.
No, probably not. But those first 2, I will definitely stand behind. Those are quality games.
Okay, I got to give them some time, and I also need to learn the power-up system.
Yes,
because you can't just grab every power-up.
Nope,
it doesn't
stick
go
to
that
it.
way. Just
pick a color and stick with that.
I choose yellow. If you've been watching, you get that. What?
There it is. That's our one wicked racist thing all podcast.
I guess.
Yeah.
I guess that was racist. Even if it was adorably so.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for Gaming Without Parole. My name's Brian Palm,
I'm Mike Zeller.
and we'll probably see you next week.
Hopefully.
Probably not.
Yeah.